There comes a point in your life where you have to make a decision not about where you're going or who you're with, but who you are becoming. Self-worth is not negotiable. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it. This is a truth that often gets lost in the noise of rejection, comparison, and the desire to be seen. We live in a world where validation seems like currency, where likes, attention, praise, and approval are mistaken for self-esteem. But the moment we tie our worth to how others treat us, we give them the power to define something they were never meant to hold. Self-worth isn't a popularity contest, and it isn't up for debate based on who loves you, who stays, who applauds, or who walks away. There will always be people who can't see your light because they're blinded by their own shadows. There will be moments when you're overlooked, misunderstood, or dismissed. And it's easy to believe that it's a reflection of your inadequacy, but it's not. Their inability to value you says more about their lens than your substance. Just because someone can't recognize your greatness doesn't mean you aren't great. Some people can't meet you where you are because they haven't even met themselves yet. You are not the version of you that someone failed to appreciate. You're not the mistake someone couldn't forgive, the silence someone chose to give, or the presence someone took for granted. You are not defined by anyone else's inability to love you the way you deserve. The truth is, your value is constant. It doesn't fluctuate with someone's moods, choices, or attention span. It doesn't grow when you're praised or shrink when you're ignored. It just is. Powerful, steady, and untouchable. Mental strength is rooted in knowing that you don't have to perform for affection or prove yourself to earn a seat at someone's table. The table you're meant for already has your name on it. And when someone sees your worth, they won't question it. They'll rise to meet it. Until then, you don't need to shrink, bend, or beg for a love that sees you as optional. You were never meant to be someone's second choice or backup plan. You are not the echo in someone else's story. You are the main voice in your own. It takes courage to stand in your truth when the world tries to mold you into something more palatable. It takes strength to walk away from anything that doesn't reflect the love and respect you give so freely. But that's what self-worth is. It's quiet, unshakable dignity. It's knowing that not everyone will see your light and still choosing to shine anyway. It's choosing yourself over and over again until your reflection no longer seeks approval but radiates confidence. When you know who you are, no one can convince you otherwise. And when you truly believe in your worth, you stop chasing validation and start attracting respect. Because the ones who matter won't need convincing. They'll just know the world treats you how you teach it to treat you. That truth is both empowering and confronting. It means that you are not simply a product of your environment or a victim of circumstance. You are an active participant in the way people engage with you. The way you carry yourself, the standards you set, the behavior you accept, and the boundaries you uphold all send a message to the world about what is permissible in your present. When you tolerate disrespect, you unintentionally give it permission. When you stay silent in the face of mistreatment, you reinforce the idea that your voice doesn't matter. But when you honor your worth, speak with clarity, and stand with conviction, the world begins to respond accordingly. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They are about protecting what's within. They aren't walls built out of fear or bitterness. They're doors that only open to what deserves entry. They say, I love myself enough not to let everything and everyone walk in freely. And that kind of self-respect isn't arrogance, it's emotional maturity. It's the quiet understanding that your peace, your time, and your energy are sacred, and not everyone should have access to them. Many people fear setting boundaries because they're afraid of losing relationships. But what's truly worth having will never require you to abandon yourself to keep it. Healthy connections respect boundaries. They don't test them, manipulate them, or treat them as negotiable. They recognize that clear lines make relationships stronger, not weaker. Without boundaries, you become a canvas for other people's projections, demands, and expectations. With boundaries, you reclaim your role as the artist of your own life. Teaching the world how to treat you begins with how you treat yourself. If you constantly criticize yourself, others will follow. If you abandon your needs to please everyone else, others will learn to do the same. But if you speak kindly to yourself, stand firm in your values, and refuse to shrink for anyone, you begin to model the behavior you expect in return. People may not always understand or agree, but they will learn. This is someone who knows who they are. It's not your job to make everyone comfortable. It's not your responsibility to explain, justify, or soften your truth for others to digest. Your only responsibility is to honor yourself fully and to create a space around you where only love, respect, and truth are welcome. Not everyone will like your boundaries. That's okay. Let them go. The ones who are meant for you will never feel threatened by your strength. They'll be drawn to it. So when the world tries to take more than it gives, when people try to test your limits, remember, you are the gatekeeper of your life. You decide what gets through. You decide what stays. And the more you enforce that truth with consistency and grace, the more the world will learn you are not to be taken lightly. Love, attention, and respect must be given freely, not forced. These are not things that should be earned through begging, convincing, or compromising your dignity. They are the most basic human needs, but they lose their value the moment they are demanded. When someone truly cares, when someone truly sees you, these things come naturally. You don't have to chase them, perform for them, or shrink yourself to be worthy of them. Real connection doesn't need persuasion. It recognizes your value without you having to audition for it. The problem is, too many people confuse consistency with effort. They give and give, hoping one day the other person will see their worth. They wait for the bare minimum to be enough, mistaking breadcrumbs for a feast. But when you find yourself constantly over-explaining, constantly seeking validation, constantly trying to be good enough for someone to stay, it's time to ask a hard question. Why am I fighting to be chosen in a space where I was never truly seen? You should never have to earn what should be given freely. If someone truly respects you, they won't need a reason to show it. If someone genuinely loves you, they won't make you beg for their time, their affection, or their loyalty. It's not supposed to be a power struggle. It's not supposed to feel like a game. Healthy love isn't confusing. Respectful people don't keep you guessing. Attention given out of guilt or convenience isn't a gift, it's a weapon. And it leaves you starving for more, even when it's handed out in small doses. When you start begging for the basics, you slowly start forgetting who you are. You accept less than you deserve and begin to believe that's all you're worth. But here's the truth. What is meant for you will never require you to betray yourself to keep it. The right people will never make you question your value. The right love will never make you feel small. And real respect will never feel like a reward that you have to work overtime to receive. Sometimes, walking away is the highest form of self-respect. It's not about being cold or closed off. It's about knowing that you deserve more than conditional love and part-time presence. You deserve someone who doesn't just show up when it's convenient, but someone who chooses you fully and freely. And if they can't offer that, let them go. Stop trying to make room in your heart for people who treat you like an option. Let the ones who can't see your worth fade into the background. Let silence answer where words have failed. Because the moment you stop begging for what should been given without asking is the moment you take your power back. You start choosing yourself. And that is when love, attention, and respect begin to flow to you, not because you forced it, but because you finally made space for what's real. Silence speaks louder than desperation. In a world where people often scream for attention, validation, and answers, silence can be the most powerful statement of all. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, and it doesn't explain. It simply exits with dignity. When your presence is taken for granted, when your efforts go unnoticed, or when your voice feels drowned out by someone else's indifference, you don't need to fight to prove your worth. You don't need to yell your value into ears that refuse to listen. You just need to walk away with grace, not bitterness. Desperation is loud. It pleads, it begs to be seen. It tries to hold on tighter when things are slipping away. But what you must remember is that clinging to something or someone that no longer values you doesn't preserve your worth. It diminishes it. It sends a message that you need them more than you need yourself. But you don't. You never have. What you need is peace, and peace doesn't exist in the spaces where you constantly have to prove your right to be there. There is strength in choosing silence when all you want to do is speak. There is power in choosing distance instead of confrontation. Not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every person deserves an explanation. When someone makes the choice to overlook you, to undervalue your presence, or to treat your kindness as a weakness, you have every right to choose silence. Not as surrender, but as self-respect. Graceful exits are not acts of weakness. They are declarations of inner strength. They say, I don't need to prove my worth to anyone who doesn't already see it. They say, I know my energy is valuable and I refuse to spend it where it's not appreciated. Walking away doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough about yourself not to stay in a place that hurts you. And walking away with grace means you leave the door closed, not slammed. You choose your peace over chaos. You choose healing over proving a point. Sometimes people will only realize your value in your absence. But that realization is no longer your concern. You're not responsible for awakening someone to what they lost. You're only responsible for not losing yourself while waiting for them to notice. Silence in this sense becomes your boundary. It becomes your mirror, reflecting back what you will and will not accept. Don't let desperation speak on your behalf. Don't let the fear of being alone convince you to stay where your soul feels abandoned. When your presence is taken for granted, let your absence speak, and let your silence be the echo of your self-worth. Because the loudest thing you can ever say without uttering a word is, I deserve better than this. Mental strength is built in moments of solitude. It doesn't come from applause, from constant companionship, or from the approval of others. It grows in silence, in stillness, and in those raw, unfiltered moments when it's just you facing yourself. Sometimes walking alone isn't just necessary, it's the only way to truly discover who you are. The noise of the world, the opinions of others, the distractions of daily life, they can drown out your own voice if you let them. But in solitude, everything becomes clearer. You start to hear your thoughts, your desires, your fears, and your truth. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being brave enough to be with yourself, without distraction, without validation, and without pretending. In those quiet hours, when there's no one to impress and no one to follow, you begin to understand your strength. You learn to become your own anchor. You learn to sit with discomfort without running from it. And more than anything, you learn that your worth is not defined by who walks beside you, but by how deeply you know yourself. Walking alone can be scary. It can feel like abandonment or failure, but it's often the beginning of transformation. When you walk alone, you stop compromising. You stop adjusting your path to fit someone else's comfort zone. You walk where your soul needs to go, not where others expect you to be. And that is where mental strength is truly forged. In the courage to take steps no one understands. In the discipline to keep moving even when no one is watching. And in the faith that even though you're alone, you are not lost. The world often teaches us that we need others to feel complete, that being alone is something to fix. But solitude isn't a problem. It's a sacred space. It's where clarity lives. It's where you stop performing and start aligning. It's where you strip away the noise and begin to rebuild yourself from the inside out. No shortcuts, no masks, just truth. People might not understand the path you take when you choose solitude. They may call it isolation or withdrawal, but you'll know the difference. You'll know that solitude is a choice rooted in strength, not in weakness. Because sometimes, in order to find your voice, you have to stop listening to everyone else's. You have to break away from the crowd, from expectations, and from comfort so you can hear the quiet whisper inside that says, this is who I am. Mental strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it sits quietly in the corner, breathing, waiting, building itself up in the silence. It's in those moments when you are your only company, when no one is clapping, and when the future feels uncertain, that true strength rises. Not loud, not flashy, but steady, rooted, unshakable. And when you finally step back into the world, it won't matter who walks with you or who doesn't, because you will have already proven to yourself you were never truly alone. You attract what you believe you deserve. Life has a way of mirroring your self-worth back to you in the form of relationships, opportunities, and outcomes. If you carry within you a belief that you are only worthy of the bare minimum, that is exactly what will keep showing up. People who offer you just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to make you feel whole. But when you shift your belief, when you truly begin to own your worth, not just on the surface, but deep within your bones, you begin to attract situations that reflect that inner confidence. You stop settling, stop shrinking, and stop seeking permission to take up space. Instead, you rise fully, unapologetically. So many people spend their lives trying to mold themselves into what others want them to be. They shrink their voices, mute their dreams, and soften their edges just to be more digestible, more acceptable, more lovable. But the truth is, the more you shrink, the more disconnected you become from who you really are. You start to believe that being small is the only way to be safe. But safety isn't found in suppression, it's found in authenticity. When you stop trying to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be, you make room for who you actually are to emerge. And that version of you, the real you, is magnetic. That version of you walks into rooms and owns space without asking for it. That version of you doesn't chase validation. They radiate confidence. And that confidence doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from alignment, from knowing that who you are is not a mistake or a burden. It's a gift. People may try to box you and label you or limit you, but you are under no obligation to stay small for anyone's comfort. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out. You were not designed to shrink. You were built to expand, to evolve, to step into your fullness. And yes, that might mean outgrowing some spaces, losing people who only knew the lesser version of you, or walking away from situations where you once felt safe. But that's the cost of becoming who you're meant to be. And it's always worth it. Believing you deserve more isn't selfish, it's necessary. Because until you raise your standards internally, nothing will change externally. Your energy, your presence, your truth, they all start from what you believe about yourself. And the moment you start believing that you deserve love that's deep, respect that's consistent, and opportunities that challenge and uplift you, the universe begins to align in that direction. So take up space, use your voice, stand tall in your truth, because the world needs more people who aren't afraid to be exactly who they are. And once you own that fully, you'll stop attracting people who want to change you and start attracting those who celebrate the very essence of you. Stop explaining yourself, stop proving yourself, walk like the ground was built for your steps. Speak like your voice was designed to echo through walls, and love yourself so loudly that the silence of others no longer feels like rejection. It feels like freedom. When someone shows you they don't value you, don't argue, don't cry, don't beg. Smile, stand up, walk away. Because your energy is your empire, and not everyone deserves to enter. Become mentally strong, not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that you were always right about you.